The studio lights that morning were softer, warmer, almost comforting rather than purely functional, casting a glow that seemed to invite honesty rather than performance. Kelly sat in her familiar chair, the same place where for years laughter and warmth had flowed effortlessly, where mornings had begun with smiles for millions of viewers. Yet that day, something was different. Her sparkle, so often described as contagious, was muted, veiled by an invisible weight she could no longer hide. As she spoke, her voice trembled, not out of fear, but from the sheer emotional weight of the moment. Kelly had long been admired for her resilience, for balancing career, family, and public life with a grace that seemed almost effortless. But that morning, it wasn't about performance. It was about facing a truth she could no longer set aside. The room felt suspended, still, filled with a quiet tension that seemed almost tangible. The power of vulnerability. When Kelly spoke, there was no script to follow, no polished lines to deliver. Instead, she conveyed something profoundly human, a willingness to show fragility in a world that often demands perfection. She described moments that weighed on her heart, not as a confession to assign blame, but as an acknowledgement of her own emotional journey. There is a quiet strength in allowing oneself to feel deeply and openly, and her presence in that chair became an invitation for others to reflect on their own challenges. The power of vulnerability lies not in collapse, but in courage, in choosing to acknowledge emotions honestly, even when doing so feels uncomfortable. For viewers, it was a reminder that even the strongest people carry burdens, and sharing them can be a form of healing, not weakness. Facing personal challenges. Kelly spoke about the complexity of relationships, the daily effort required to nurture them, and the reality that life doesn't always unfold as planned. She described nights spent replaying conversations, questioning what she could have done differently, not from guilt, but from a natural desire to understand, to process, and to learn. Life's challenges do not arrive all at once. They arrive quietly, often in subtle shifts in routine, emotional distance, or moments that feel unexplainably different. Her words painted a picture of how even ordinary interactions, laughter, shared moments, familiar routines, can feel altered when the foundation you rely on shifts unexpectedly. Yet within this exploration of human complexity, there was a quiet resilience. The acknowledgement of difficulty, paired with reflection and self-awareness, becomes a path toward understanding and growth. Understanding trust. Trust, Kelly explained, is something often taken for granted until it feels uncertain. She spoke about the way ordinary life feels filtered through a lens of doubt when that foundation wavers. Yet she did not dwell on despair. Instead, she explored the process of learning to rebuild faith in oneself, in relationships, and in life. There is a human tendency to seek logic when emotions are tumultuous, to dissect why things unfolded as they did. Her reflections were grounded not in self-blame, but in a desire for insight and understanding. She described the way emotions can ebb and flow. Anger that consumes, sadness that feels almost physical. And yet, amid these currents, a quiet determination emerges. The determination to keep moving forward, to find stability and clarity once more. Choosing authenticity. One of the most striking elements of Kelly's reflection was her commitment to authenticity. She spoke about the decision to confront difficult emotions rather than suppress them behind a smile. Pretending to be okay may give the appearance of strength, she noted, but it can also breed exhaustion. True strength lies in acknowledging pain and allowing oneself to experience it fully, in understanding that healing is not a linear journey. Tears, when given permission to exist, become a form of release rather than collapse. Her reflections were a testament to the power of facing life honestly, embracing the full spectrum of emotion and allowing moments of vulnerability to coexist with resilience. Rebuilding self-identity. Challenges often force a re-evaluation of self, and Kelly's reflections touched on the delicate process of rediscovering identity amid life's upheavals. She shared moments of not recognizing herself where confidence was replaced with doubt, and self-assurance gave way to insecurity. Yet through this process, she highlighted the importance of self-compassion and the gradual reconstruction of inner strength. Healing involves learning to navigate life with the memories and experiences that shape us, without letting them define or diminish us. By examining her journey, Kelly conveyed a message of hope that growth and self-discovery often arise from the moments when we feel most uncertain. The shared human experience. While Kelly's reflections were deeply personal, they resonated with universal themes. Countless viewers could see themselves in her words, recognizing the quiet struggles, the questions, and the emotional labor involved in navigating life's challenges. By sharing her experience, she created a space for empathy and connection, validating the feelings of others who had faced similar struggles. Her honesty reminded people that emotions are not something to hide, but a bridge toward understanding, compassion, and communal support. The simple act of speaking openly about one's experiences can have a profound ripple effect, allowing others to embrace their own emotional realities without shame. Seeking support and reflection. Kelly emphasized the importance of support networks, the value of friends and family who listen without judgment, and the necessity of seeking help when life feels overwhelming. Emotional challenges are not meant to be navigated alone, and recognizing the courage it takes to reach out is a critical part of growth. Reflection, therapy, and deliberate self-care were presented not as indulgences, but as essential tools for maintaining well-being. By demonstrating that strength includes asking for help, she reframed resilience as something dynamic, a balance of independence and interdependence, self-reliance and vulnerability. Compassion and perspective. A profound aspect of Kelly's reflection was her emphasis on compassion, not only for herself but for the broader human experience. Life is full of complexity and imperfection, and acknowledging this without excusing harm or missteps allows for a deeper understanding of ourselves and others. She highlighted the importance of distinguishing between accountability and empathy, showing that it is possible to hold space for humanity even amid disappointment or difficulty. This approach elevates the narrative beyond individual experience, revealing a broader truth about the human condition. Growth comes not from perfection, but from reflection, forgiveness, and intentional effort to navigate life with integrity. Moments of quiet realization. After the cameras stopped rolling, Kelly remained in the studio for a while, reflecting quietly. These moments of stillness were perhaps the most revealing, highlighting the importance of pausing to process and ground oneself. In the absence of external expectation or performance, she allowed herself to simply be, acknowledging the weight she had been carrying. Strength, she realized, does not always mean pushing forward relentlessly. Sometimes it means pausing, reflecting, and choosing to release what no longer serves your well-being. It was in these quiet moments that the foundation for healing and renewal truly began. Rediscovering joy and balance. In the weeks and months that followed, Kelly described a gradual return to balance. Joy, once feeling risky or forbidden, began to re-enter her life organically. Ordinary pleasures, a shared joke, a song, laughter, were no longer overshadowed by unease. She highlighted that true healing involves integrating joy without pretending the pain never existed. Balance becomes an active practice, honoring past experiences while remaining open to new possibilities. In embracing both sorrow and happiness, Kelly offered a blueprint for resilience, showing that strength is as much about embracing life fully as it is about surviving hardship. Forgiveness and acceptance. Forgiveness, she explained, is a personal journey, not a moral requirement. It does not erase what happened, but it can ease the emotional burden we carry. Some days felt closer to forgiveness, others more distant, and both states were valid. Accepting the ebb and flow of emotions without judgment became a cornerstone of her healing process. Through this lens, forgiveness transforms from an obligation into a conscious choice, an act of self-liberation, and a means of creating space for growth and peace. The journey forward. Over time, Kelly described a shift from immediate reaction to lasting perspective. The sharp edges of anger and doubt softened into clarity and understanding. Questions of why and how lost urgency, not because answers were fully resolved, but because they were no longer needed to move forward. Rebuilding trust in herself and in life's possibilities became an ongoing process, rooted in presence, reflection, and self-compassion. Her journey illustrated that healing is iterative, gradual, and often non-linear, but ultimately empowering. Strength in resilience. As she returned to her work, the laughter and energy that audiences had come to love gradually re-emerged. Not forced, not performative, but genuine. Heartbreak had stripped away the superficial, leaving only what was authentic. What remained was a woman capable of love, honesty, and deep empathy. Her experience reinforced a profound truth. Resilience is not about avoiding pain, but about navigating it with awareness, integrity, and courage. By choosing honesty over facade, by embracing both vulnerability and strength, she exemplified the human capacity to endure, adapt, and thrive. A new chapter. Kelly's reflections and journey of rediscovery marked the beginning of a new chapter, one shaped by resilience, insight, and intentional living. Life's challenges may test us, but they do not define the totality of who we are. Through her willingness to share, reflect, and rebuild, Kelly modeled a path that others can follow. A path that acknowledges hardship while embracing hope, that values authenticity over perfection, and that celebrates the quiet courage found in everyday human experience.